You have to understand that when people are doing like trades and trade setups and going long or going short or staying bullish or staying bearish or whatever, you have to understand that everyone's in a different position, and that's why this is not financial advice. When people say they're not your financial advisor, they don't know your personal situation, and it's very dangerous if you just jump in and follow someone, based on like seeing them on the internet. And that's why it's so important to me, to wait for confirmations, because that's part of my trade strategy, but also to stress to the community and to viewers, that this is not, a signal service. And that's why I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. I'm not trying to convince you of my positions or my trades or anything like that. I'm literally just sharing my insights on the market, and essentially trying to teach people the things that I've learned, so that they can use them as well, and then obviously share the indicators also. So but this is not financial advice. So, people are in different positions and doing different things, and like have spot Bitcoin or have altcoin positions or whatever. Regardless, like I'm not gonna lie, I did take a loss and got stopped out on a short over here, and I am in a short from position right here, currently, but that's just a couple small positions that I have. That's nothing to do with other coins and cryptos and gold, silver, all different assets. Because like for instance, like I have other positions. I don't want to name drop, and I don't really like dealing with altcoins on that level, and I don't want to push this out or the other. But I have some altcoin positions that are up like 100% in the last in the time that this has taken place. So I can take a couple percent loss on something like this, doing what I've been doing successfully, and then make money exponentially more on another trade, with a smaller position even. So keep that in mind. And a lot of people, I'm not saying me specifically, like I have some skill that other people don't have, but I just mean keep that in mind that, most people, most experienced traders, most, technical analysts are not going to be involved in like a single trade at a time or like one asset or whatever. So when all these markets are fluctuating in different ways and they're going up, down, this, left, right, and the other, that's where diversification comes in. And that's part of having an actual portfolio. And it's the same way with your trading portion of your account. Like your trading portion of your account should be a very small portion of your total, assets or investments or whatever you want to call it. Like, if you have $100,000, like, no one trades with $100,000, and that's like what they have. Like, you use a portion of your total assets and your total net worth or value, based on your responsibility and your successfulness and everything. It's not responsible to be using a large portion of your, you need to have like a home and a car and stability and, a future and retirement funds and all these different investment vehicles, not just a trading account, because that essentially is gambling. If you're just putting it all in a pot and growing it over time, that's great and everything, but you're essentially just a professional poker player. And that's the difference between investing and trading. Because in all reality, like, you can believe in Bitcoin and everything, but there's not fundamentals in the same way that there's fundamentals in traditional assets, that there is in things like gold that's been around for thousands of years. So, in all actuality, cryptocurrency is it is just gambling to a sense, that it could fail at some point in time. And people say things like, well, gold could fail too, but the likelihood of something failing diminishes based on the amount of time that it has like existed for. It's called like the Lindy effect, essentially. Like, the longer something has existed, the longer it's likely to exist. So for instance, the fact that gold has been like, a value to mankind and humans, for thousands of years, means that it's likely to continue for longer than anything else is. So, Bitcoin's 10 years old, and that's great, and it's excellent. And some of these other cryptos are coming up on 2 years old, and 5 years old, and that's great. And they are starting to be established in the space and everything. But in all reality, something like gold is far more likely to be a store of value thousands of years into the future. And there's arguments about things like fundamental arguments, like that an asteroid full of gold and we'll mine it, and then gold will go to zero, this, that, and the other. But those are fundamental arguments. I'm talking about on a technical sense. You know what I mean? A technical sense. Over time, gold has always appreciated and held its value better than anything else, and existed as a form of money longer than anything else. And the reason for it, people argue against things like precious metals as value based on like necessity in the future, etc. But in all reality, the proof of work model comes from precious metals, like from gold. Like the reason gold is worth money is because it takes a bunch of money and effort and manpower to extract it from the ground. Therefore, it creates a value, and then it has like a solid state, like store of value that people know. Okay, this ounce of gold is worth this much money because that's how hard it is to get this. But that's where the value comes from. So essentially, it was the initial proof of work. The original proof of work model is, precious metals and gemstones and stuff like that. The refinement cost of them, or like the discovery cost of them, or the rarity, or whatever it is where the value comes from. So yes, at any point in time, like an asteroid could crash on the world and have like, a million tons of gold in it. But that's a black swan event. You cannot base trades and analysis and the future off of things like black swan events, like a golden asteroid changing, everything, because that's also going to probably wipe out the majority, if not all, of the world's population. So again, and this is perfect example. This epidemic going on currently in China is a perfect example of what could be a black swan event. Something that could, skyrocket Bitcoin to higher prices, crash the stock market, break gold out of 10-year patterns. I mean, these are the type of things that can essentially like shift the world and the way things are. I mean, if this turns into like, an epidemic as bad as some people are trying to make it out to be, or if it ends up just being, a SARS type thing and it was just made to be way more serious than it is, I mean, we'll only see in the future. But the truth is that this is the type of thing that can be the catalyst for like world changing events, you know what I mean? And although the financial market is not directly tied to, a sickness or a flu or a plague or whatever, those in the past, like statistically, historically, have been catalysts for huge moves and crashes and explosive moves to the upside and things like that in the stock market and in different assets, and changes in essentially like the way mankind exists. So I wouldn't push that under the rug just yet. So it is very likely that we could see, or we will see, a massive move here. And Bitcoin is gaining a lot of strength. And when I switch over here to the daily too, this is something I noticed. This is three white soldiers pattern. Three massive green daily candles with almost no sell-off. Three white soldiers is very, very bullish. It's typically after a consolidation, or like a retest and then a reversal. So as we're coming into like this strong resistance point, and this downward sloping resistance, our breakdown resistance, I wouldn't put it beyond the cards just yet that we could break out of here. So I am fully prepared to lose this position, if the case should be, and I will have absolutely no problem, like I said, flipping long. If we can get our daily candle close above this resistance breakdown point, I have no problem flipping long. And same with the moving averages. If we can stay above the 200 and the 50 long enough and get the golden cross, I have no problem playing that golden cross to the upside on the daily time frame. And matter of fact, I will ride that thing for years to come, if it should be so. But here we have it, guys. That's our daily technical analysis weekly, looking at the longer time frames. We're almost there. We're so close. I think the best thing that could happen here is a consolidation and then a breakout, and I would get extremely bullish on this asset. But even in the event that we do consolidate here and then get a massive sell-off, like a retest down to this area, I have no problem going long again from like the 7,000 to 7,600 range and seeing if this massive inverted head and shoulders plays out, and that we could get the break up here and get our targets as high as like 12,700. So not quite getting bullish yet on the longer time frames, but we are very, very close to confirming. I'm starting to get very excited. You probably can't tell by my voice, but honestly, guys, I got a huge smile on my face. I am just ready for that easy money. Crypto trend trader.